News intelligence and national security reporter Ken Delaney. And Ken, in addition to the indictments unsealed today against Paul Manafort and Rick Gates, we learned of this other very interesting Trump advisor, George Papadopoulis, who pleaded guilty to making false statements to the FBI. You've got some reporting that this case with this guy who nobody's ever heard of, George Papadopoulis, might even be a bigger deal.
That's right, Ali. For one thing, because he's cooperating with the FBI, according to these documents. And for another thing, because the documents that lay out his offense, his alleged offense, spell out that he was in touch with representatives, people connected to the Russian government, and that they were offering him, in one case, dirt on the Hillary Clinton campaign and emails, thousands of emails, back in April 2016. Now, that was well before it was known that the Russians had hacked the Democrats, Ali. And so we don't know what these emails were. It's not further described. But some of my intelligence sources are looking at this and saying this is a classic example of people associated with the Russian government trying to infiltrate the Trump campaign, picking up a low-level official, trying to co-opt him, meeting with him. There are many meetings detailed in these documents with both a professor with connections to the Russian government and a Russian national, a female with connections to the Russian government. And it alleges that George Papadopoulos met with these people, exchanged information with them, and then sought to set up a meeting between senior Trump officials and Vladimir Putin. Now, that meeting didn't go forward, but the Trump campaign didn't fire this guy or report him to the FBI. And now he's facing these criminal charges out.
How long was this guy involved with the campaign? We know that Manafort left soon after the Republican National Convention. I mean, Corey Lewandowski was the one who was trying to throw him under the bus, and all we heard was statements, defending Paul Manafort. I mean, maybe distancing, but defending Paul Manafort. Jared was a fan of Paul's. Ivanka was. Tom Barrack brought him in. But this guy, George, who was he, and how long did he stay part of the campaign?
That's not clear, but here's what we know, that Donald Trump mentioned his name as a foreign policy advisor back in March 2016 in that editorial board meeting at the Washington Post when he was asked, hey, who's advising your campaign? So Donald Trump knew his name.
Right.
He was living in London for a time. There's some suggestions in these documents that he was in contact with Paul Manafort. It's not clear to me how long he worked on the campaign.
When Donald Trump brought up his name, I remember the day, it sort of puzzled everybody. So we'd never heard of this guy. Right. He's hard to sort of find information on. He doesn't have a big track record. All right, Ken, great reporting. Thanks very much. NBC News intelligence and national security reporter Ken Delaney. All right, stand by.